What's up, guys? Hunter here, back with another episode of Raid 101. Today, we're gonna take a deep dive into one of the most important mechanics in the whole game, the turn meter. Okay, now you might be thinking, the turn meter, that tiny little yellow bar, why does that get a whole video? Because that little bar is the key to figuring out the turn system behind every single battle in Raid. Learning how the turn meter works, how it interacts with speed, and understanding how to manipulate it with speed buffs, slow debuffs, and the turn meter manipulation skills of your champions is your key to winning this game. From deciding who goes first to get an immediate starting advantage in the arena, to determining your team's turn order to maximize their synergy, it controls everything. So before you skip ahead to check out advanced strategies, make sure you've mastered this section. Now, before we get started, be aware that this is going to be one of the more complicated, read math-heavy, videos in the entire series. So brace yourself and feel free to throw any questions at us on the forums if something's unclear. With that said, grab a spreadsheet and let's dive in. First things first, what is the turn meter? We've covered it in one of the previous videos, but we'll show you again. It's this thing right here. Aside from HP, the only other meter shown in every single battle is a champion's turn meter. Once a champion or boss's turn meter is full, they're ready to take a turn. You can see that in-game. It fills up, and that champion takes a turn. See? It's that simple. Well, wait. It's almost that simple. They're ready to take a turn, but they'll only take one if their turn meter is actually the highest or most full at that specific time. So what if two champions are full at the same time? You've probably seen that happen a few times in the game already, and you don't know who's going to go next. How can one champion's turn meter be more full than another's? 100% is 100%, right? Kind of, but not really. This is where you need to think behind the curtain. What you see isn't always exactly what's happening. What you see in game is the turn meter filling up to 100% to the end of the meter. But what's happening behind the scenes is a little different. There's actually a meter overflow that keeps count of any turn meter gained past 100, but it isn't displayed visually. This is because the turn meter works in something called ticks, and the way they work makes it unlikely for any turn meter to hit exactly 100%. This is where it gets a bit complicated: ticks and speed. Think of ticks like the ticks of a second hand on a clock. Tick, something happens, tick, something happens, and so on. In battle, on every tick, each champion's turn meter fills a little, but at slightly different rates. A champion's speed is deciding how much of their turn meter is filled on each tick. The higher the champion's speed, the higher the percentage of their turn meter that's filled up on every tick. Now that might sound confusing, but let's break it down with an example. Let's say you have two champions, Champion A and Champion B. Champion A has 200 speed, Champion B has 100. At the start of the battle, it's tick 0. Both their turn meters are at 0. Then, tick 1, their turn meters fill. Now, check it out. Notice that Champion's A turn meter fills roughly twice as much as Champion B's. This is because it scales linearly with the champion's speed stat. A champion with 200 speed will move twice as often as one with 100 speed. We don't want to give away our exact algorithm, because where's the fun in that? So we'll just work with approximate numbers. Let's eyeball their turn meters and say that after tick 1, Champion A's meter increased by around 15%. That puts Champion B at around 7 or 8%. This isn't the real number, but let's call it 7.5% for the purpose of this example. The same principle applies. This means that with every tick, their turn meters will increase by that amount. Got it? Great. Let's keep going. So tick 1 has already happened. Here's tick 2. They both fill a bit more. Champion A is at around 30%, while B is around 15%. Tick 3, same thing happens again, and so on and so forth until one of their turn meters either meet or exceed 100. In this case, it took 7 ticks for Champion A to reach 100. Here, we actually skipped straight over 100 and landed ourselves in the meter overflow, and now sit at around 105%. At the same time, in those 7 ticks, Champion B is just past halfway. If we're saying 7.5% per tick, around 52.5%. So here's the situation. Once any champion's turn meter is at 100 or more, they're ready to take a turn. In this example, it's pretty simple. There's only two champions. Champion A's turn meter is full, while the other guy's isn't, so he takes a turn on this tick. Now, these champions had two vastly different speeds, and it was a pretty obvious outcome. But what if we add more champions? And what if there are multiple champions with their turn meters at 100 or more? Let's play through an example. To make this as clear as possible, we'll work with a larger whole numbers. These aren't necessarily going to be realistic speeds, but they'll get the point across. On one team, we have champions A and B. Champion A is the fastest and gets around 30% turn meter per tick. Champion B is slightly slower and gets around 24% per tick. Now that's a huge amount, and in reality would put them both somewhere around 400 speed or more. But for this explanation, let's just stick with me. Okay, so now on the enemy side, let's add this dude here, Champion C. He falls somewhere in the middle at around 26% per tick, slower than Champion A, but faster than B. Let's play this out. Same story as before. A tick happens, their turn meters fill up. We'll freeze on tick 1 because this is going to be a good example of the difference. Champions A and C are pretty close at the moment, with Champion B lagging behind a little. Based on the speed stats alone, we know Champion A should move first, then Champion C on the enemy team, then Champion B. But let's continue and see why this happens, and also what can happen once Champion A takes a turn. So tick, 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 yada, 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 boom. After 4 ticks, both Champion A and C have more than 100% turn meter and are in their overflow, while Champion B isn't ready to move yet. This part is pretty simple. Champion A will move and Champion C will follow next. But what if Champion A uses a skill that instantly boosts his team's turn meters? Or what if he places a decreased speed debuff and slows the enemy? First, let's remember the approximate numbers we assign to each turn meter. After those 4 ticks, Champion A is at 120%, so he's going to go first regardless. Champion C is at 104%, so he's ready to move next, while Champion B is lagging behind at around 96%. At the moment, he's around 8% behind Champion C. Unless something changes, Champion C will go before him. On the next tick, after Champion A moves, Champion C will gain another 26%, taking the total difference between them to 34%. To overtake Champion C and move before him, Champion B needs to gain over 34% turn meter in a single tick. He's going to gain 24% from his speed alone, so where could the other 10% come from? This is where your champion's skills and your team's turn order come in. Follow this one carefully. Just like last time, Champion A moves first. However, this time, he uses a skill that boosts the turn meters of every allied champion by 30%. Now, look what happens. First, notice how Champion's A turn meter is reset back to 0 as soon as he takes his turn. But then, he boosts his own turn meter as well, so he jumps up to 30%. At the same time, Champion B, who had around 96% turn meter, had his boosted by 30% and now sits at around 126%. Champion C's turn meter is unaffected and is still at 104%. This is because, and this is incredibly important, this all happens on the same tick Champion A takes his turn. No more ticks have occurred yet. Once that champion finishes their turn, another tick happens. And like always, all champions have their turn meters filled based on their speed stat, and the champion with the highest turn meter over 100 takes a turn. You can see where they all stand now. This time, because Champion B had their turn meter boosted by their teammate, they overtook Champion C on their enemy team and will take the next turn. They've successfully interrupted the turn order. This happens even though Champion C is faster and already had over 100% turn meter and was ready to take a turn on the previous tick. This is one of the simplest examples of turn meter manipulation, but the same principles apply to buffs and debuffs that change a champion's speed. If you apply a decreased speed debuff, that champion's turn meter will fill 30% less on each tick than it would without a debuff. At the same time, giving your own team a speed buff means they'll fill their turn meters 30% faster or 30% more on each tick. In the examples shown, there was a huge gap between the speeds of the champions for demonstration purposes. Having a large speed delta between your champions makes it a lot easier for the enemy's team to interrupt the turn order or gain a turn advantage. Against higher level teams in the arena, getting your team's speed tuned as efficiently as possible is the key to success. Still tracking so far? That's the basic mechanics covered, but there's also a few special cases that you need to be aware of. Case 1, in the unlikely situation that two champions have exactly equal levels of turn meter, the champion on the team initiating the battle will move first. In the arena, this means the team on arena offense. In PvE locations, this is always your own team. Case 2, champions can't have their turn meters instantly filled or boosted when their turn meters are already over 100%. This is to stop people abusing the mechanics and lapping slow enemies, such as dungeon bosses. However, you can always decrease an enemy's turn meter even if they're already past full. And then finally, while you can't always instantly increase a champion's turn meter, you can always give them speed buffs even if their meter is past 100%. And that's everything. There are a few more advanced concepts like speed tuning, but that's a whole different thing. We'll cover those in another video sometime in the future. Understanding these mechanics is key to everything you do in Raid. From PvP dungeons to the arena, it's important for every team you build to have the most optimal turn order for their skills. Once you get to grips with speed and the turn meter, you can start figuring out the best teams, strategies, and synergies to take on Raid's hardest challenges. If you found this guide helpful, go ahead and share it with your friends or other players that might still be struggling. And as always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.